Hi everybody, welcome back to Jay Hunto's Garage, and it has been, feels like a lifetime since I made a video. I haven't been sitting around doing nothing. I've had a kid to get off to college, I've had in-laws coming to visit, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Air Force graduation, all kinds of things like that going on here, in addition to doing car repairs without the video camera. All of that has kept me from actually taking the time to break out the camera and get into editing and all that good stuff that goes along with the video. So I thought I'd give you a little update of what's been going on mechanically. It's all fairly interesting and you can learn something from it. And I know that I sure did. Look at this. Look out! As far as Project Oddball goes, I've been working on the engine. Basically, I actually installed the supercharger, the coil pack. I've got the belt configuration figured out because that's going to be different. In this swap, the air conditioner is over here when it's in its original configuration. But in the Camaro, the air conditioner is over here. And there's an extra pulley that goes on here that the Pontiac GTP has, or the other front-wheel drive cars that this comes in. And the AC unit sits here. So with power steering being on this side and AC being on this side, that's going to change up the configuration of your pulleys a little bit. And also the belt sizes are going to be different. So I've got one mocked up here. This is going to work for the air conditioning, and then I had it on the supercharger and it's going to go around there just fine. Just 3 pulleys for the supercharger and a tensioner. So that should be okay. Supercharger's installed. I'm going to go ahead and leave the stock pulley on here, and after I get it running, get the engine broken, get some miles on it, I'll go ahead and change this out to a smaller pulley and maybe dyno the thing before and after and see what power gains I actually get out of a smaller pulley. So it should be more boost. So I have the fuel rail installed now after a trip to the local wrench apart parts yard, and this was the one that came on it, and I was trying to figure out how to get the fuel lines from the car, which come in on this side on the Camaro. On the original cars this came in, the Pontiac or any front-wheel drive cars, it comes in the other side. So what I've decided to do, instead of heating and bending these as an experiment, and this, sometimes you got to try things to know that that's not going to work. So instead of doing that, I'm going to go ahead and use this and just make up some new lines that'll come around here and over just a couple lines. I'll get my buddy Mario's shop to do that for me. A couple 3/8 lines just to hook up to the factory ones, and then that should be good to go. Okay, coming around to the rear of the engine, I had to cut this thermostat housing. I separated the flange from the top to rotate this, I don't know, maybe 10-15 degrees. It was pointing here back to the firewall, which space is at a premium at that point. So I went ahead and rotated this so that I wouldn't have any issues with the firewall. And then I welded this guy on. I cut a good portion of the other side of this elbow off, basically to the as much as I could to the inside, and welded that to the intake. If my calculations are right, this should sit right up against the firewall to where I'll have to maybe knock in the firewall just a little bit. I'm not afraid to do that little bit of firewall massaging with the hammer. My other issue that's really holding me up right now is the EGR valve. That's this tube here. Unfortunately, that connects in the the very back of the supercharger, which when it's sideways in your car, you can get access to both sides. But when it's front wheel drive, this is going to be facing towards the back. So I've got a tube here that I'm using that came, I think, on the GTP. I'm going to go ahead and make up a connection for this to bring it around, keeping it away from the coolant hose as much as possible. Just bring it around to the front where the EGR valve is connected right here. So this will connect to this. It would just be a really long tube. Okay, the headers. These headers I bought off eBay for $149. Stainless steel, both headers, and a white pipe, clamps, hardware, everything. Don't buy these. This flange is on upside down. This should be down here. So I had to make my own cutout relief and had to re-drill holes. So don't be like me. Buy the real stuff. And the hardware that goes into the heads is too big. It doesn't even fit. So, but I like the headers. They're stainless steel, they're good quality, they're way better than stock. So it is what it is. I'm gonna make them work. Now the HHR, I'm saving that update for last. Continuing on with what I've been doing since I haven't been putting out videos. This is my wife's 2015 Chevy Equinox. It's got about 60,000 miles on with a 2.4 liter Ecotec. This thing had a really annoying oil leak that was pretty bad. It was trashing my driveway. And I had to go get it. I didn't want to take it somewhere because I know these engines inside and out. See my HHR playlist. You'll see exactly how much I know about these engines. So I was pretty sure it was coming from the front timing cover area because there's really nothing else around there to leak oil other than the valve cover gasket above or the head, God forbid. So I took the valve cover off, ordered a gasket set, replaced it, and it didn't fix it. It just kept leaking. I cleaned everything up, drove it, and it just kept leaking. So then the only other thing was the crank pulley seal in the front of the timing cover. So I took the bolt out, took the pulley off, changed that seal, which was so easy. Honestly, it took like 20 minutes to do all of that. And it fixed it, took care of all of it. The oil leak's gone. I'm happy with the car again, and she's doing good. While I had the timing cover off, I should have changed the seal then. I thought about it, I examined it, nothing seemed wrong with it, so I didn't replace it, even though I had the new one right there on the bench. So moral of the story is go with the easy stuff first, or when you've got it apart, just change everything, all the seals in that regards. So that's it on the Equinox. She's good to go now. Now on to the Suburban. This is the business end of the Suburban, under the hood, where all the magic happens. So the magic that wasn't happening under here was the cruise control unit. It has worked intermittently since I got the truck, and then a couple years ago it absolutely died. So I bought a new one on eBay. It was like $79. Delphi, new old stock, had a good explanation of why he had like 10 of them. So I went ahead and bought one, swapped it out, and easy as can be. 3 bolts. They're not even bolts, they're screws. 2 on this side, 1 on this side. This cable, you just pinch this and it pulls out, and this cable attaches to like a ribbon inside of here, and you've got one connector here. And this was the easiest and best thing I could have done. Next thing is wiper blades. This wiper motor was when it's running, they skip real bad. So You take this plate off, there's 3 screws, and you can see the contacts right on a disc. I clean those off, put this thing back together. They run just as smooth as can be now. The next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this Kelsey Hayes ABS unit. The ABS on these things, just the brakes in general, so mushy all the time, and I haven't been able to do anything to get rid of it. There's no bleed valve on this, so you have to take this somewhere to get it bled. And like if you change your master cylinder, and I have changed this, I've changed the booster, I have bled the brakes, I've changed the brake hoses on the front, and nothing firms up the pedal. Sometimes it's firm, sometimes it's mushy, depending, I don't know, on how it feels that day. So I'm getting rid of this guy. I may try an ABS unit out of like my Camaro, because I notice it's different and it's got a little bleeder valve on it, just like your brake calipers do. So I may go ahead and look into swapping that out. I mean, it may not be feasible just because of wiring, and this has to talk to computer and everything else, but for the most part, at the very minimum, I'm just going to take this out, connect those lines, block off what I got to block off, and just not have ABS and get my brake pedal back. Okay, now this guy, the love of my life. Not really, but I do have a lot of affection for this car, only because it's the first car we bought brand new, and it's got 200 and something thousand miles on it. It's still in very good condition. It gets me back and forth to work. Sometimes I drive the Suburban, sometimes I drive this. When the Camaro gets on the road, one of these will go. Probably this one. Anyway, so had a problem with this thing with the torque converter bolts coming loose. Of all things, there's only 3 of them. And I think what's happening is the balance shafts are not timed properly. I have not checked that. This is a rebuilt engine, and I did have to fix the timing on the timing chain with the cam and the crank and all that. I had to fix that, and I've had it off, had the timing cover off, replaced a chain guide, all kinds of stuff, but I never paid attention to the balance shaft timing chain. If that's off, I don't know much about them. I know they do take up vibration for any engine over 2 liters, and this is 2.4. But I don't know what happens if you get them off. Can you be a tooth off? Can you be 180 degrees off? I don't know, but this thing kind of vibrates, I think, more than it should, and that may very well be loosening up those bolts in the torque converter. So I keep tightening them, putting Loctite on them, and I got to do that like every 2 weeks. Just pull the starter off, tighten up, take the bolts out, put some Loctite on, put them back in, torque them down, and then sure enough, they're loose again. Another couple weeks later, it makes the weirdest rattle you've ever heard. Like banging on a metal bowl. It's just weird. Anyway, I'm going to fix that, and if you know what happens to an engine when you get the balance shafts off, or what the tolerance is, if you could be a tooth off or 2 teeth off, whatever, before it really causes any issues, let me know in the comments below. I'd appreciate it. And that, my friends, is what's been going on at Jay Hunto's garage. Little details, as well as maintaining the fleet. Wait a minute, HHR. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Blah. Continuing on 1,000 miles, this thing, horrible oil leak. What is going on?